Hello, everyone. Do you see my happy dance? My happy Irish dance. I won't make you witness that, but I am here today with the amazing and gorgeous and soul sister of mine, Sonee Singh, to celebrate the launch of Book 5. Sonee, holy moly.
Yes.
And
Yay.
it's a good one. It's a good one. It's Can You Be? You can see it behind Sonee there. You can see it behind me. Sonee has it so much more laid out wonderfully. And it's just
I had a chance to set
beautiful.
up.
It's beautiful. We were to go live earlier, but Sony's delivery was impending, and I was like, we have to have the books. So this is hot off the press, Sony, and
It
Can You
is.
Be is a very special novel for you. It's a different process from your
Mhm.
first novel, Lonely Dove, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just want to share with everybody that you are published through Lusaris, which is our Serenity Press literary imprint, and it's so special to have you in there. It's just so aligned, and Can You Be is just such a welcome addition to that family. It just feels so aligned, doesn't it?
It does. I feel so blessed because, when I first started working with you, that was one of the things that I aspired to, was to be part of Lusaris. So now that it's happened, I just can't believe it.
You can tick that box with pride. It's been a
Yes.
beautiful journey, honestly. Honestly, it really has. And this book has was such a different process for you than your first novel. Now we know we've got the amazing poetry with MMH Press, and we will touch on that slightly, but this novel was different and easier for you with all
Mhm.
that you learned from book one.
Much easier. I mean, Lonely Dove took me about 4 years to write.
Okay.
So it was a process of learning. I mean, that's how I grew as a writer. That's how I learned how to write a novel. That's how I learned, even if I had it in me, to share these stories. Whereas Can You Be came together so quickly. It did start as a short story that I put together maybe 2 years ago, but then at that time it was 2,000 words. I mean, it was a short story.
Yeah.
And it was during NaNoWriMo this past November that I said, I'm going to flush this out into a novel. And here you go. So in less than a year, it came together, which is just incredible. I mean, especially thinking about how long it took me to get Lonely Dove, to think that this one took less than a year is unbelievable.
And that is it, isn't it? Like I started my author journey through NaNoWriMo as well. You know, it's such a powerful way to set an intention, let go of the perfectionist in you, and just get the bones of your book out that can then be worked on. And when a story calls, like I remember you saying that you had a short story that you might develop, and then here it got a life of its own and wrote itself with
Yes,
you showing up and serving that story. And you were even surprised, weren't you?
completely. Because even when I had been thinking about it, because I did start thinking about it for a few months before the opportunity came for me to write it. And I thought, okay, well, NaNoWriMo is just going to be, 50,000 words. I didn't think I was going to actually write out the whole novel,
Yeah.
which I did. So I had finished. I mean, that period of NaNoWriMo, where what you said, it was about just setting the intention of writing every day
Yeah.
and not judging, was what allowed me to just flow. So I did way more than the 1,637 words or whatever it is that you need to write in order to get to 50,000. And so I was shocked. I mean, to have a completed novel at the end of it was not what I thought I was going to end up with. And then to,
And there's just so much for an author to learn there, and for a new author to learn is to, because there is a tendency to overthink whilst you're writing, but when you allow yourself permission to just set the intention and to let it go without expectation, and with allowing yourself not to do that overthinking and editing and all of that, it just allows the flow of creativity to come through you onto the page.
absolutely. And it's not that it won't get edited, because it did.
Yes.
It went through several rounds of editing, but at the moment, just to get the story out, it was, especially as a first draft, it was so
Yes.
important to not judge constantly, to not overthink and to analyze and say, is this going to flow with the story? Is this not going to flow? Is this making sense? It was just important to just get it all out and then go back and do the process of rewriting.
Oh, and you know, because you set the intention, your subconscious mind is in motion, isn't it? Before that, it's organizing things, and you have learned so much as an author. You know, you've learned under the amazing Joanne Fedler. You've learned from authors around you. You've learned from your own Lonely Dove authorship journey, and I'm sure I've had some wonderful influence on there. I'm letting go and just getting to it.
You definitely have. There's so much magic that happens around you, Karen. It's impossible not to have an influence in my writing.
We can't even explain what magic it is. We just call it magic. There we go. But it is a book to stand behind and just be proud of. Like, even when it went through your editing process and came to us, we were so impressed. We were like, wow. Because we knew your journey with Lonely Dove. It went through a lot of edits and it developed and changed and ebbed and flowed so much for you.
Yeah. I mean, Lonely
know,
Dove had at one point, I think, 12 different drafts. I mean, and sometimes the book changed completely from one draft to the other, whereas this one was more, it came out, yes, things needed to be rearranged. I tend to overwrite, and so a lot needed to be cut out.
Yeah.
And then it was just a matter of fine tuning, but or answering questions, like things that maybe, despite my overwriting, I hadn't really answered or addressed.
Yeah.
And that was really how it all just came together, which was, yeah, it was shocking in a good way, like in a positive way, because as an author, especially when you're just starting out, I think you probably doubt yourself all throughout, but you really think, like, do I have it in me? Am I even good at this? Do I have any idea of what I'm doing when I'm sitting down to write a story? And so that was a good, just personal affirmation that I do have some sort of clue of what I'm doing.
Yeah, you absolutely do. I love and I absolutely admire and honor who you are as an author. One of the things I always say to authors: write the story you want to read. Can you be the story you wanted to read? And are you in this story?
I think it's hard not to put part of you in every story, at least for me. The interesting thing is that my protagonist in this story, Nena, is the least like me of anybody I've ever written about. And so that was a huge exploration. I mean, that was a really interesting journey in trying to understand who she was, what her journey was, to discover where she was going to go, because a lot of times I don't always know where the character will end and what that journey will be like. And it was a little different this time because I did have that short story as a basis. And so I knew a little bit about who she was, but 2,000 words to nearly 90,000 doesn't compare.
No.
You really have to do a lot of work.
Do that math, guys. Honestly, it's like, but it was the seed that was the Can You Be the story. So it's just so special.
It started as a short, kind of very short, like couple of scenes that then got flushed out. I think that the part of me that is really in there is the travel, because there's a portion in which Nena goes on a trip to Stockholm, the Baltic countries, and Helsinki. And that was very much my journey of going through that trip, except that, of course, now I have to take it and put Nena's perspective on everything that I saw. So a lot of what I had to interpret of my experience was through Nena's eyes, which are different than mine. And that was a very interesting contrast to have to make.
To be able to do that, isn't it just so special? It's like you're reliving the trip again, but with a different lens, and observing things and seeing things and experiencing things differently. And that's one of the wonderful things about being an author, is that you can transcend into that, and honoring the character. You end up going on an adventure with them side by side. You are
absolutely, and I think that's what's so special about this journey that we go on as authors, that sometimes either you get to relive things or you get to appreciate that there are different ways of looking at the same thing, and there's different perspectives of looking at something. And so I mean, I will say this very frankly, there are certain things that Nina did that I don't agree with, but I had to honor who she was as a character and honor her story and the journey that she was going through as she was experiencing all of these things. So yeah, it's really a privilege that we have.
Can I just give you a clap because and a kudos for that? Because that takes courage as an author. You know, that's where inhibitions come in. Oh, somebody's going to read this and they'll think this about me. You have to set that aside because honoring the character and the story that has to be told takes courage, doesn't it?
It does.
I love it. We have a Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but please let us know your name so we can say, I resonate so much with the process of just getting the story down, isn't it? It's just get it
It
down.
is such a beautiful process. And you do have to do that because sometimes if you overthink, you actually don't do service to the story. You just at first, especially because it's an inner calling that you have with you, and you know, being an author is a very solitary experience. And so if you don't allow all of that to come out and you put all these restrictions, then it won't come out in the way that it's meant to.
Yeah, it's Lisa Benson. Of course, it's you. We love you, Lisa. Lisa and Michelle have given amazing endorsements for this book, you know, and I was also privileged to see this book and, you know, coming into form. And it's wonderful to journey with an author on the journey. How does it, you know, with Lisa and Michelle and me, you know, the beta readers, those people who are reading it before it gets out into the world, how is that part of the journey? Do you get nervous or are you relieved at that point, or, you know?
I would say I'm relieved at that point. I mean, obviously you do feel nervous because you want to make the writing and the story be the best that it can be. And so you're thinking like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to have to rewrite a lot or if I'm going to have to edit too much. But to me, it's actually a beautiful part of the process because especially the three of you, I honor you all so much and I honor your views and your perspectives. So what feedback you give me really matters. Like I really do take it on board. And so for me, the beta reader process is essential, but it's also a way to improve my writing because when you're writing your story, you're too close to it. And there's certain things that you don't see that another person sees. And that really helps you hone the story and make it better. Like for instance, Lisa pointed out in an early draft that I use the word that a lot. And I hadn't even realized it. And then we did a count and there were thousands of that's.
You didn't have to count them individually. You just want to find and it would have said.
And I was like, ah. So you know that there's value, I think, a lot in beta readers, and especially beta readers that you trust, because you want them to be honest with you. You want them to not hold back, and you also want them to honor your work. There's certain people who sometimes will say things because I've had different beta readers in the past who will give me comments, but not in a way that I could address. Like somebody at one point said, "Can you fix the dialogue?" And you're thinking, well, what's wrong with the dialogue? Tell me so that I can fix it. You know, so finding the right beta readers, I think, is key.
It's so important on an author's journey because this can become such a roadblock, not just for that book, and the promotion of it. It can also become a roadblock for authors to write. And just one comment can just be this wedge. And it is important to remember, and I've been on the journey with many authors, it's important to remember that someone's you know, how they view something is their view, and what resonates with you and what you connect with is what you're to work on or what you're to take on board. The rest you have to let go. And there's so many people who will get like 100 amazing reviews and just that one bad one, it shifts them, they hang on to it, and it's you're never going to please everybody.
No.
You know, and that's the thing. It's so important to honor that part of being an author. And once you get over that, there's freedom in authorship through that.
Yes. And it's interesting that you say that because I still, one of probably the most negative comments that I've gotten on one of my books, somebody said, you know, it's just words. And you're thinking, Well, yes, it is just words, but it's so interesting that somebody's just off the cuff comment, because I'm pretty sure that person didn't give very much thought to the comment, but
Yeah,
it stayed with me.
yeah, yeah.
So no, I do think about it, but yeah.
And that's it. Maybe you're just not their person and they're not yours. Isn't that it? It's like, come on. Oh, it's and Lisa says so beautiful to be on this journey with you. Isn't it
Oh,
just gorgeous?
yes.
And that's it. It's a beautiful surrounding of people. But the one thing I can guarantee. Now, I brought Can You Be down to the beach with me yesterday. Took some nice photographs. You'll see them on my Facebook page.
Yes, they're
It was a
beautiful.
sunset. It was lovely. And you've been on this beach, so you know the feels. But it is such a beautiful beach read, and we're coming into spring now and the weather's starting to pick up in Australia. But people are also, it's just one of those books that's just with you and you keep on the shelf and you'll just journey with I'm going to let you say her name because my
Nina.
Irish accent's, yeah, yeah. And as you said, Nina, I'm going to read the blurbs so that everybody. Sony's so good to put up with me. Right. So, Can You Be? Nina's life is as it has always been. She lives in a self imposed sheltered manor in Charleston, South Carolina, yet wants nothing more than to have the support of friends and family. She is too afraid to put herself out there, having been hurt so much in the past. Her routines give her a sense of safety until an early August morning when Nina receives a box. It has no information about a sender and it is left on her doorstep. A mysterious man shows up at her work asking about it. Oh, I'm like intrigued. Tell me more. Everything begins to change after the arrival of the box, and Nina is presented with a chance to change her life and explore compassion, forgiveness, and believing in herself. She struggles to understand the power of connections and the potential of expanding her horizons. Nina's journey is mystical, and in portion, it takes her through Stockholm, Helsinki, and the Baltics. Will this quest lead her to discover what she can be? That captures the essence of this journey, doesn't it?
It does.
I think we'll all find some of ourselves in Nina. We will resonate and connect because we will all go through journeys, and it's beautiful to join her on her journey. And I think a lot of people are going to resonate and take away different things from this book. So it'll be so interesting. Please let us know when you read this what your takeaways are.
Yes,
Leave a review.
I would love to hear feedback and comments, because one of the things that also came through with the beta readers is that everybody came back with different feedback of what they connected with in the story. And that's one of the things that I also find so wonderful. Like, you as a writer, you just put your work out there, but the interpretation is in the hands of the reader. And it's varied. Every single person is going to read into it differently. And that's actually part of the beauty of it.
Yeah, well, absolutely, isn't it? And to be able to be aware and mindful enough to identify that, wow. And it just goes to show that you have lots of strengths in the book that people will connect with. So I'm going to ask the ultimate question, Sonee. Can You Be is out into the world. It's book 5 for you. I know we've got a beautiful collection with MMH Press at the minute that we haven't told anybody about yet. But other than that, what is next for Sonee Singh, author?
Well, you sort of hinted on one of them, but I recently, and actually this summer, started working on another manuscript, which was the first manuscript I ever started working on. And so this has been parked, shelved, whatever you may want to call it, for at least 5 years. And I finally decided that it was time to let it out and start working on it. And it's a beautiful, I hope it's a beautiful story, historical fiction, which is not very much what I've written. Both Lonely Dove and Can You Be are contemporary.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a very interesting journey for me, and I hope for the reader when they get their hands on the book. So
Oh, I love it. That is like I've got goosebumps thinking about it. Like you're going to be learning things and researching things and sharing all of these golden findings with us all, through the lens and through the knowledge that you've accumulated with writing your other novels. And this is the magic of three for you for a novel. So
Yes, fingers crossed.
yeah. Oh, I can't wait to hear how this one comes together. Wow, fun.
It is. It is fun. I would say that.
Yeah. Anything you want to say to anybody before we tie up this conversation? Because we've went over, of course. I expect.
We always do. No, I'm just delighted that this book is out there. Please, I invite you to get a copy and give me your feedback and your thoughts on how you connected or maybe did not connect with the book. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Please show up and share all the good, because people make more effort to share the not so good than the good. So just show up and share. One of the things that is so wonderful on this journey is Sonee said to me, what, about 6 weeks ago, do you think we could get this out for August 22nd? Or was it 4 weeks ago? And I was like, absolutely. And the book arrived in her hands on the August 22nd to the day. I was like, and I got mine on August 22nd too. So it was like, yes, it's absolutely aligned. It's time for this story to get out there into the world. And huge kudos to you for showing up, honoring the journey, and getting it out there into the world. Tick box, Lusaris box is ticked in style, Sonee Singh.
Well, thank you also for honoring the process and for abiding with all of my changes and requests.
That's just my part of the process, Sonee. It's an honor. So where can you grab this book? You can grab it everywhere online, but I highly recommend you go to the serenitypress.org, the Lusaris page, and you will find it there alongside some amazing titles, and you can grab your copy there. It also shows you if you want to go to Barnes & Noble or Amazon, there's links on that page. But you can check out, and we're about to pop a nice little video that Sonee did just when she got the book. We're going to pop it in there so you can check it out. So thank you so much, Sonee. I'm going to let you go because I know it's late with you. So, but thank you for joining me, and everyone go grab your copy. Send us your selfies. We want to see them, and have fun.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.